Wave, Dan.
Good morning. Is this thing on? Oh, I know, it is loud, that way everybody can hear. All right, well, thank you for being here at today's town hall meeting. This is the first of, hopefully, I think we signed up for 4 of them this year, so we can have them quarterly. And so thank you for being here this morning, for spending your Saturday morning with us. Today present, we've got Vice President Bill Link. Go ahead and wave. Today's a little more informal, so we're going to be a little more informal with you. Treasurer Debbie Isaacs, Director Dan Sullivan, and myself, President Maria Perkins. The board will not be taking any action. Oh, would you like to be recognized, sir?
Oh, you didn't wave.
Oh, thank you. Is this a good wave? My 6-year-old taught me how to wave. The board will not be taking any action on items discussed today, but we will be taking notes on the items that may require possible board action in the future. Before I open the floor for comments and questions, I want to take a moment to talk about where the association is as of the new board's tenure. And before I start that, I'm going to ask everyone to take a look at your cell phone and turn it off or put it on silent so that we don't have to stare at you and call you out, because since we're informal, I'm going to call you out. So I appreciate everyone taking time to do that for us this morning. The new board's tenure began at the end of March of 2019. Since our tenure began, we have made great strides towards gaining a better understanding of where our financial situation is. We will be looking at each line item and trimming the fat as needed to bring down the unnecessary expenditures. Mrs. Isaacs has been working very hard and very closely with our financial team to get every penny accounted for. We instituted a Director on Call program to give employees a board focal point for addressing day-to-day concerns as required. The board approved a series of limited access dates to allow for the public to come in and enjoy select amenities for a fee, and also as a recruitment tool for membership. Over Memorial Day weekend, the pool garnered $1,070, which will be reinvested into the swim park as we continue to beautify it. The board is looking at all contracts and will be renegotiating or terminating contracts as necessary to get the best deals for the association. The board is communicating more with membership to be as transparent as we can be with what is happening in the association. There is an official Fort Clark Springs member group on Facebook where administration and the Director on Call are able to communicate information to membership. That same communication is still going to be sent via dispatch, but this is just another avenue for communication with the membership. We have made a commitment to beautifying our fort and executed our first of many projects, cleaning up the swim park. Thank you to those of you who are in the audience that helped us with that swim park project. It was very, very long 2 days, but it was very, very productive, and the swim park looks very beautiful. The next project will be on June 29th, and we'll be trimming the trees around the fort. More information about that will be dispersed as we get closer. The fort and the city of Brackaville will be co-hosting the 4th of July this year on the fort. We are excited for this joint venture and welcome anyone who would like to help or sponsor part of the fireworks show. It's going to be good. United States Air Force Lieutenant General retired Lloyd Chip Utterback will be our keynote speaker, and we look forward to welcoming him to our community. There have been several questions regarding the executive officer's vacation. Mr. Lawrence has brought a claim against the community that is being investigated. He is scheduled to return to work on Monday. Due to the ongoing investigation, that is all of the information that we are able to provide at this time. When more information is available to share, this board will provide it. Thank you to those who signed up to provide your concerns and/or questions. As a reminder, members wishing to ask a question are limited to one question for up to 2 minutes in length and one follow-up question pertaining to the original question asked with a 1 minute limit. I have a timer here. Members wishing to share their concern with no questions are limited to 2 minutes to do so. There is a cordless microphone that will be passed to you, so please speak clearly into the microphone with your name and unit you live in prior to starting to ask your question or stating your concern. And actually, Robert, would you mind bringing me that list of people who've signed up, please? Thank you to Miss Jolie Welsh. Go ahead and wave, Anna. She's going to be taking care of the microphone today, so if the time goes up on you, we apologize in advance, but Miss Welsh will be removing that microphone. So please be kind to her and don't put up too big of a fight. All right. So first on the list we have Ms. Ava Martinez, it looks like.
Anna Martinez, Unit 1. During the February board meeting, concerns submitted by the Unit 1 Neighborhood Association were discussed, and the board chose to postpone action until the new board was in place. Our concerns were not addressed in either the April or May meetings. We requested by email to the board that we be added to the June agenda as to not be overlooked. We realize that you have a full plate, but we want to ensure that our current concerns are not disregarded. As per Robert Rules of Order, anything discussed during a meeting and not completed should be addressed as old business. We received an email from Maria Perkins denying us to being added to the agenda. My question to anyone on the board, where does it state in bylaws, declarations, or anywhere that the elected board may pick and choose what topics they want to address and disregard membership input?
Thank you for that question. We did receive your email, as you stated, and there are 2 videos that need to be reviewed, not just by me, but by the rest of the board if they choose to review them. The building the agenda is a board decision. So if you were able to attend our workshop, we very clearly stated if there are any questions about an action item that will be put on the agenda, then we're not going to put it on the agenda because our meetings are not going to be 5 hours long anymore. I understand there's a lot that Unit 1 has. I understand. And we've got to watch the workshop again, we've got to watch the meeting again, and we've got to look at what was left up in the air that was not tied up as far as the loose end is concerned. The tree trimming project is going to be part of what we do for Unit 1. We're going to go in there, we're going to work on some of those trees. And I know that's one of your things on there. And you've got a very long list. And we're not ignoring that list, just like my email said. We're not ignoring you. Just at this time, we have to rack and stack all of the other things that are happening around the association. And Unit 1 isn't the only unit that has those exact same issues. Lighting, trees, roads. They're not the only unit. And so whatever we decide we're going to do for your unit is what we have to be willing to do for every other unit. And so it's not a very simple, let's talk about it in the meeting and make a decision. We need to have a lot of information available to us. How can we fix roads? Well, if we have an agreement with MUD, let's figure out how that agreement works. So there's a lot that goes behind the scenes before we can actually talk about something in public in a board meeting so that we're not sitting here with half of the information or a portion of the information or just your information, because there's a lot that we've got to take into consideration. So please don't feel like we're trying to treat you as a redheaded stepchild, which is essentially how you guys have felt. And I know, I'm sorry that it's the case, but we're not doing that. We are trying to look at everything else and answer questions about, okay, well, we have a lighting problem. For example, poles, some of them don't belong to us. So it's not a matter of us going and sending maintenance up to put a new light bulb in. Trees, some of those trees we can't touch because the county has to touch them. So it's a matter of what kind of an agreement do we have with the county to address those trees, because we got more than one tree that's right there on that water that we need to address. And again, the roads. We got an agreement with MUD, so let's figure out where that agreement is. So there's a lot of behind the scenes that needs to go in to take place before we can go address that. Now the other part is, you gave us a link to some YouTube images, which was great, except the imagery is a year old. So after a year, I'm certain it probably looks worse, or maybe it looks better, who knows. So like I asked you to in the email, update the imagery for us. Get it updated. There's only 4 of us sitting here, and I've only got 4 people in maintenance that I'm aware of, and then there's Philip. So update the imagery for us, and this goes for everybody. If there's a problem, get us some updated imagery. And the director on call for this month, the director on call will also have to prioritize, well, what can I go address right now? Because that might be something that this director on call might have to put to the next director on call for next month. But that's why we have the program, so that the directors can get involved and it's not just one person making all the decisions. So I hope that answers your question.
It does. It does answer my question. But you addressed a lot of things that we had submitted at the last workshop, a priority list. And that was what y'all were supposed to work from, the priority list. And we submitted that, got no resolve. The lighting, the trees and all that, we understand that takes a long time and everybody's suffering like the rest of us. But if the board would take time to look at our priority list, and the video has not changed, it just deteriorated more. And there are liabilities that we would be responsible for should the wall fall or a child stick their hand and open electrical boxes. That's a liability for those things the board should address immediately. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, and I understand that, but your priority list has to be racked and stacked with the entire fort priority list. So unfortunately, we can't just jump in and say, yep, we're gonna fix all that, because we have to find money, we have to find people, we have to find what agreement we're not going to interfere with, and if we have an agreement, we need to figure out how to work with those partners to do it together, and so that we're not fighting. But we are going to do it, I promise.
We are the partners. We offer to do a lot of things.
Awesome. So we're going to get to it, I promise. So we're going to go to the next one, Miss Judy Winchell.
Judy Winchell, 82 Lamont Street, specialty lots 7 and 8. My comment is that I'm sure everyone here is aware that I initiated a petition for members to express their opinion regarding the board's decision to appoint a director if there was not the next person on the list. I just simply am asking via this petition, which will be asked to be presented at the next board meeting, for the board to listen to the concerns of the members regarding this procedure and pay attention to what members really want. We will present the list. The signatures are extensive, I can say that. But they're still coming in. And we are asking the board to please give some weight to what members want. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next on the list is Miss Kim Kirby.
My question is, I live in the Oaks. My question is about the lifeguards. It was a rumor that we were going to have lifeguards. Curious as to how many. Is it throughout the entire summer? Also, will they be certified?
That's 3 questions, but I'm going to lump it into one, and I'm going to say, are we having lifeguards? To answer the lifeguard question, yes, we're going to have lifeguards this year. There was not a call out, an application process put out for lifeguards specifically, and the reason is because at the time when we decided that we were going to have swim park attendants, I asked a question. I said, well, why aren't we having lifeguards? Very simple question. That prompted me to be on the phone with our insurance carrier, who said that there was nothing that says we cannot have lifeguards, and there's nothing that says we have to have lifeguards. It is a decision of the community to, if you need them, then we have the ability to hire them. So it just so happened that the individuals who applied for the swim park attendant jobs were also interested in becoming lifeguards. So they will be attending a class on the weekend of the 7th in conjunction with the Kinney County lifeguards that are going to be trained as well. And we're doing a joint effort. They're going to do half of their training at the public swimming pool, and then they're going to do the other half of the training here so they can get the deep water training. And none of our signage is going to change. You still have to swim at your own risk. The lifeguards will be on duty at scheduled hours. Hopefully they're the peak hours, but the specific hours of operation I'm not in charge of. But it is an understanding that they will be there during peak times. The other thing that we had to consider was a lifeguard isn't there just to protect a child. We have a wide variety of ranges when it comes to our community members, and an elderly community member is equally as susceptible to needing a lifeguard as an infant or a 6-year-old. There's several medical complications that can occur in a pool, and truth be told, we can't expect for security to be called and tell them that they have to jump in a pool to go save somebody's life, because we don't know if they can do that. So so the decision was made that we're going to go ahead and do this lifeguard and have them on guard. We ask that everybody respect them and not take advantage of them, and that parents still police your children, still read those signs, because those signs are applicable. And if your kids get hurt, it's not the lifeguard's fault. It's still the parent's fault, and it's, well, not completely the parent's fault, but the parent is responsible for their children. If you have a guest, if you're not a parent and you have a guest, your guest's behavior is still your responsibility. So none of that changes. We're just adding that extra security measure. So thank you for that question. Does anybody have anything to add?
How many were we going to hire? Do we know?
As of right now, we have 2 that are going to be attending the training and possibly a 3rd. Okay, so Nancy Stone.
Nancy Stone, Unit 34. I have lived in Unit 34 since 1889, and we have maintained the green area right next to us since that time. You have brought in mowers to mow the grass, the fort, and it is looking much better. But to me, they are cutting the grass too short. And when the summer comes and there's no rain, that short grass is going to turn brown quickly. But if you leave it a little longer, because the roots will be longer, then the fort will look more beautiful if you cut the grass a little longer than what they're cutting it right now. So if you could ask them to raise the mower, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. Ooh, I can't read this name. Let's see. Can you read that? Number 5. Is that Phyllis Giblin, Adult Center? Sorry, I couldn't read your beautiful handwriting.
I'm Phyllis Giblin, Unit 27. I had the privilege of showing new members around the fort on many occasions.
Please talk into the mic. Bring them
I
up.
had the privilege of showing new members around the fort on many occasions. And one of the occasions, which was just recently, like yesterday, we went into the adult center and went into the recreational area. I was appalled. I was appalled by the safety issues that are there. There are broken machines that need to be removed. There's weight equipment that is jerry-rigged, or there's another word for it, but anyway, it's not safe for the kids to use the weights there. There's also extra or old equipment that is broken that needs to be removed. I would like to suggest, and I can also be a part of this, is to remove some of that old equipment and put it on the sidewalk if the fort will take it away.
That actually is one of the things on our list that we need to look at. And we're going to write your name down as someone who will help us fix that, Ms. Giblin. One of the things that we as a board have agreed upon is the fact that we need to make it worth the investment that you have made into our community. So just like we started with the swim park, we're gonna work our way around and highlight the areas that really need some attention. And that adult center gym is on that list. Oh, that was a bad move on my part. Please do, yes.
I just wanted to let you know, I actually just had a conversation with Philip about that a couple of days ago, about that very topic. I have not personally been in that weight room in there in a couple of years. So seeing as I'm the director on call, I'll make it a point to go over there this week and look at it myself. But we've already been discussing getting some of that equipment replaced, and I gave him an idea about how we might be able to get some equipment virtually free. So we're going to look into that. It is on our priority list. It has been addressed. We just haven't gotten around to actually making it happen yet.
Anybody else have something to say about it? Okay. Next on the list is Miss Kathy Warm.
Hi, Kathleen Warm, Unit 31.
Oh, we got a mic coming for you, ma'am.
All right, there you go. Can you hear me now? Okay, for you people that have been around and have known Wally and me, you obviously know that we are extreme advocates and supporters of the deer harvest. We've been involved with it since it started, and it's continued going on. Way back when, it used to be affordable for members to shoot some does. We don't want things that hang on the wall. We want meat that goes in the freezer. Wally was able to proxy shoot, and he gave all the meat away to people that could not hunt. Either they're invalids or they're too old. Okay. My question would be for each of you members on the board, would you support lowering the fee for members of Fort Clark Springs to go and shoot does? And you know where some of you know, I am tired. We have a group of, last count was 75 across from our house. If you go by 13, there's probably another 40. When we first, I know I've got 2 minutes. When we first came down here, there was an overrun of white-tailed deer. There was a lot of inbreeding, and they just basically passed away. That's when Puffy was there. But anyhow, for you people, really and truly think about it. See if you would support and lower the fee for members who would like to go out and put meat in their freezer. Thank you.
That is an excellent question, and ironically enough, something that I was just having a conversation with 2 individuals about last night. We, as the members, should not be paying more for something than a non-member, period. And you're right. Deer harvesting for does, it should be pretty affordable for us. And so what we're looking at, I can't make any promises, but what we are looking at is I'm going to actually be sitting down with Matt to understand how our hunting program works, because just like I was saying to Ms. Martinez, it's more than just a one-piece kind of a scenario. As we're looking at the potential for getting into a new contract with someone to corral the deer, I forget the word for that, but pinning the deer and taking them away and paying us for that, as we're looking at those options, and also looking at the fact that maybe we do need to look at our hunting program and see how we can better utilize those deer so that we can put food on the table for our members, as opposed to sell the deer just to get rid of them. So it's not off the table. We're not gonna, it's trapping, that's what it is, trapping. So the trapping program, it should be a tool to assist with the deer, but the hunting program, you know, I hunt. I like to kill things. It's great. Animals, not people. And just clarifying all of that. But you know, that's how people ate back in the day, before we had refrigerators, before we had HEB. And so that's one of the wonderful things about our community, is that we do have that that population. I know I'm not going to live it down. I know we do have the population that we can go and utilize. So we're going to look at it, and we're going to try to make it better. And when we make things better, it's going to be better for membership, and it's going to be better for the association as a whole, and it'll be better to grow the hunting program to what it can be. So that's a great question. Does anybody have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'd like it from all of you people, please, the 3 of you.
Oh, so she does want to hear from all of us, so go for it.
Well, when the prices were raised this year over the last year, which made so much money the year before, it was kind of a question to me as why would we do that? We found something that worked, so now we're going to raise the price on it. So it was a big issue when it came across for me. So I say we definitely look at different options here.
I guess I'll go next. I don't hunt. I don't have any problem with hunting. I've just never done it. I was okay.
This is a harvest.
No. Right. So I was surprised when we changed the hunting charges and I heard what had happened with it. I don't get it. We've got enough deer here to cover everything. The harvest, hunting, we have a plethora. So I absolutely would support lowering the cost for membership, no doubt.
I'm not aware what the fee is for membership at the present time. Evidently, it's too high based on what I'm hearing here. And if that is the case, then absolutely it needs to be reduced for members.
Oh, okay, I have one follow-up then. That was my question. Okay, back in 2003, Texas Parks and Wildlife went through and they did a survey. Okay, and I had the report of that. I am not sure if there was a survey ever being done, you know, since after that or not. And my other question, well, it's not a question, is every time they put the deer harvest on a profit and loss, they always show the income, but never once have I ever seen how much it cost. If Matt and all the guys are doing volunteering, the feeds, the feeders and all that, but I think that should be included. Anyhow, thanks for my 2 minutes. Oh, and Maria, Wally and I are fishermen. We love killing fish.
Awesome. Fishing is gross, but you do that. But it's informal. We're informal today. But no, Ms. Warm, that's part of what we need to look at. We're going to be looking at the past 2 years. What do we do in 2017? Because that was actually a lucrative year for us with the hunting program. How much did it really cost us? How much did we really make? Part of what Debbie's getting ready to go through right now is all of her figures, because she literally has been in every penny looking for all this money. And our focal point is, where are the places that we can make money so that we're not taking more from membership to pay for something that we need to pay for. So we're going to look at 2017, we're going to look at 2018, we're going to talk to Matt, see what Matt thinks as far as, you know, making this program better. And, you know, we've got a gun club. So I'd like to work with the gun club and, you know, and see what they can do to help us, because this is everybody's community. So it's not just incumbent on the board or incumbent on administration. It's incumbent on us to go to the people that are experts in their particular craft. Again, I do like to hunt, but I'm not an expert at it. And I'm not an expert at how to manage these wildlife. So we've got to go look at all those things before we can make a decision. Otherwise, the decision we make might not be the best decision to make. So we're working on it, but I think Debbie's just dying to give you some numbers, so go for it.
Well, it's not so much the numbers, it's just the more I dig into some of the financials, admin is eating up, or taking all those expenses, and we're not really sure what's making what and what's not being made as that goes on. We made a comment about the water bill last month at the board meeting. Sure enough, we had a water leak. When we got to checking in to why the water bill at Duck Inn was so high, we had a water leak. So y'all wouldn't believe the spreadsheets I've got, but I am, like I said, I think I've got 46 hours in this week alone. So I sit at that computer all night long, all day when I've got a free minute. And the coding, we got to figure out the coding. We need to find out what's making what with all the true expenses to the motel, to the RV, to the hunt, what we're investing in the hunt. We need to know how much it's really making, not everything going into a certain account and just being hidden somewhere. So that's what I am diligently working on right now.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen.
And you know, here's another thing. As we're researching these things, we're finding we are undervaluing our assets bigly. There's a Trump word, bigly. You know, and we're undervaluing, like you read about. I sent you an email talking about how we're undervaluing I pointed at Conrad. Wave, do your wave. But I had just sent him an email about how we're undervaluing our gun range. And you know, it's a great gun range. It's a great facility. And it's known in Del Rio as a great facility. So how do we capitalize on these amenities that we have and not sell ourselves short on what we actually do have to offer to an outsider and potentially recruit some new membership? Because, you know, things like the gun range, the airfield, the golf course, which, by the way, the golf course is looking so much better these days. Thank you, God, for the rain. But you know, all of these amenities, they're attractive to certain groups, you know, And even the swim park, it's attractive to certain groups. And if we get them in here, I've been telling this to the Historical Society pretty much regularly every time I talk to Mr. Knoll, the history will bring you in. And it will, because we've got such a beautiful history here, and we're going to start working on the buildings and working on the actual facilities around the buildings. But we have such a great history, and that's going to catch you. It's going to want you to come here, but then it's the amenities that are going to keep you here. And so that's the mentality that we all need to have when we're talking about the fort. I know that Ms. Martinez put a picture up on Facebook of the creek and why she loves living here. You know, those are the things that we need to talk about to people outside of our facilities, but we also need to not undervalue what we have. And part of that research that we have to do is seeing what are we competing against. Because I didn't know what we were competing against with a gun range until I went and looked. And so that's what everybody here needs to start doing. What are we competing with? We have the third largest swimming pool that's spring fed in the state of Texas. Number 3. And now it's really pretty because we just spent 2 days cleaning it up. So this is not going to be something that, this change is not going to occur with just us up here on this panel. It's not going to occur with just the administration in that office. It's going to occur by working through everybody and everybody taking ownership of our association. Unit 1, they've got ownership of their unit and they really want it pretty. We're going to work with you. We are. But Unit 1 is kind of paving the way for the other units, you know? Like if they were going to get down there and they're going to make a priority list, let's ask all the other units, make your priority list. Tell us what we can do to help you. And then we're going to rack and stack. So that kind of segues with the harvest. I mean, it was pretty jaw-dropping how much deer are worth, you know? The access especially, because it's a year-round thing. But we're doing the research, and that's what we need to start doing. More research so we can not undervalue our assets. You got anything? All right. Go ahead. Miss, my mic went down.
Battery's been done.
Uh-oh, now here I am. Miss Woody Trotter, you're next, ma'am.
Woody Trotter.
We got a mic for you.
Oh, okay. Woody Trotter, and I live in Unit 21 with my mom, but I have a home in Unit 1. And my concern, first I want to say that it's my understanding that employees are subject to the Director of Operations. The Director of Operations is subject to the board, and the board is subject to the membership. You were elected by the membership. Now back in 2012, we had an incident where there was a vacancy on the board. And the board overlooked the one next in line, which was Myrna Hassel, and they appointed Sandy Hagan. She had never run for the board. She was a president, my understanding, of the golf committee, and had been here only 2 years. Now, it seems to me that now Linda O'Brien got 333 votes, and she was way ahead of the next one in line. And it seems only fair that she should be the next to be selected on the board, that's the people's choice. And I would like the board to take under consideration the people's choice, not to appoint someone that has never run for the board, not to appoint someone that got less votes, but to appoint the one that is the people's choice. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Ooh, look at all that applause. So this was the last person on the list. Is there anybody that didn't get to sign up that wants to say something or ask a question? There was a sign-in list. So, Ms. Hermanson has a question. So go ahead and state your name, ma'am, and your unit that you live in.
Josie Hermanson, Unit 3. My question is about the dilapidated houses around the unit. I had the pleasure of talking with the architectural committee, and we actually went around Unit 3, and I don't remember the exact number that we found of abandoned homes. But right next door to me is a home that The windows have been busted out since the hailstorm in 2016. I have seen people in this. I have called security about people being in this home. There are animals living in that house. We have to spray every month or we will have cockroaches in our house from that house. It is bad. It is a danger to our community. And I was just wondering if there is a plan to do something about these homes. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. There actually is. And it started with making a full architecture committee. We've had an architecture committee that's had maybe 2, 3, 4 people, and there hasn't been a priority to try to, not that it's not coming from the architecture committee, but there hasn't been a priority as a team to really go full throttle and get these dormant homes taken care of. Like with everything else, it costs money, but the process, and since Ms. O'Brien, who's on that architecture committee, she might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but the architecture committee, they're supposed to be walking about, checking everything, looking at homes, looking at CCNRs, seeing there's a violation, and that's their part. That's their part in the project. The next part is that the administration sends out letters, and by law we have to send letters, and we have to make sure we're giving proper notification. Where we are falling short, and I'm going to admit it, we are falling short, we do not have a very strong program in place to enforce what we're doing. Because once these letters come, people can just say, well, okay, yeah, copy, I got it, or, ooh, I don't check my mail. And we hear that a lot. Oh, I don't check my mail. Well, I'm sorry, maybe you checked your mail when you got your cable bill, but if it's Port Clark Springs bill, it might be a little different of a priority to you to look at it. But we can't prove that. So all we can go off of is what people tell us. So someone may or may not read their letters, someone may or may not check their mail, someone may or may not decide they want to respond or pay or whatever. There are also people who decide, well, you know what, I'm just going to let the late fees accrue and see what happens. And because we have a history of not doing anything about it. So it's a culture change, it's a process change that we've got to look at, and we've got to work with legal, which is not cheap. So everything kind of goes back to money. But we do have to look at it, and we got to figure out how can we enforce this stuff. Because if I ask maintenance, okay, dudes, can you go just tear the house down for us? Because that's the logical answer, right? Just go tear it down, pull it out ourselves. Well, who's paying for that? Well, how do we dispose of it? Is it legal to just walk up to somebody's property and take their house away and say, well, we don't like it, let's take it? I mean, it's not even legal. So we have to make sure whatever program we're going to implement, I mean, architecture's doing the hardest part, and it makes them pretty much the villains because they're walking around telling you, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, and the fort's supposed to be sending these letters, and they are, but because the architecture committees who reported it, you know, and let's face it, a lot of us are friends with some people in the architecture committee, so it's hard. But we've got to look at the program as a whole and see how can we do better and how can we enforce what we want to do, because the enforcement is the issue, really, at this point. And then and holding the members accountable, because not every person has the same standard of living as the other person. You know, someone might like living with a cockroach. I don't know. But if they do, that's their prerogative. You know, we can't take that right away from them. I mean, but it's the reality, though. You know, somebody's interpretation of status quo is always going to be different as you go down the room. It just will. And so we walk a tightrope of, okay, if we're going to tell architecture committee, look at these CCNRs, see the violations, report the violations, then we on this side need to enforce it. So we've got to find the right enforcement process that's going to help us, and hence why we got to go find where our money makers are so that we have money to afford to pay a lawyer to help us go pursue this, or to pay for, you know, finally taking down a house, or you know what I'm saying. So I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in on that, but it's a process.
I think I would just comment that about a year ago, the board did engage the services of legal counsel to start going after some of the more delinquent and outrageous people late. And they have at one point here a few months ago, they collected one that was $5,000. They collected another one that was $4,500, and they were working on other ones. That may not relate directly to the dilapidated properties, but there has been an effort, but as Maria says, it's a very complicated, lengthy process, and it does cost. That's all.
Also, going in and getting rid of somebody's house, there's a lot to it. If you'll remember back 5 or 6 years ago, the house in Unit 14 that was so bad, and people were worried about fires, I think it took us about 4 years to finally get that to where we could tear it down. But you can't just go in, whether it's abandoned or not abandoned, and take it out of here, because then you're looking at lawsuit from a family if they're deceased or whatever. You can call the HUD, but once you get HUD in here, then they're going to go to looking at a lot of things, and you don't want the government in your business. So I know we've got a lot of problems, and we've got a lot of problems where people are living in these houses that you wonder, wow. So those are all things that I'm hoping that the architectural is really looking at. But the more you bring it to somebody's attention, the more that somebody needs to start looking and maybe figuring out what to do with some of them, which we are as far as the collections and things like that. So just y'all know we are looking at it.
I just want to comment real quick. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I'm really enjoying a formal day. I used to live next to an abandoned house. I reported to the fort so many times I got tired of reporting it. So I completely sympathize with where you're coming from, and I absolutely would love to make that a priority for us sometime this summer to get a formal program in place dealing with our legal attorneys and everything to make sure that we're doing it right. But even if it takes 4 years, we need to start somewhere. And yes, there's a lot of properties around here like the ones you're talking about that need to be dealt with.
And Ms. O'Brien had her hand up. I think she's going to be able to talk about some of that architecture stuff.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Talk into the mic. It might be off.
Okay. Just this past week, we have been riding around in Unit 3, and people are really excited. The word got around that the architectural committee was in the unit, so they came running out, and it was all very good, all positive. One woman who was a teacher over at the school, a first grade teacher, offered to get into the golf cart with us and ride around. And
that would be Ms. Hermanson.
Yes, thank you. And she's such a sweetie. So anyway, we went around with the golf cart and actually made notes of all the abandoned properties in Unit 3 by address. So we can come back and start the process of talking about what the legal work that has to be done. Most of these are in estates. The beneficiaries don't want to respond. They don't want to help you in any way or shape or form, and they don't want the property. So it's like catch-22. So there are ways of advertising where these people, we know these people are, the areas that they live in, and begin the process of trying to get control of the property and then foreclose on it. And then, of course, we have to remove these things by hand because they won't roll anymore. They're so dilapidated. So it's a big job, but we're starting to discuss it and sort of nudge memo a little bit about let's get going on the legal end of it. So we're going to move forward with this stuff.
Well, thank you for adding all that. And to kind of talk a little bit more about the legal part of it, our employees can't just say, I'm going to call the lawyer, because they don't have that authority. The authority lies up here at this table to engage the attorneys, because those attorneys are not cheap. And so we are not going to go to them until we know exactly what we can do, exactly what way we want to go. And that committee right there, the reason why we needed it full is so that they have the teeth, which they do have in the declarations, to start enforcing these CC&Rs. And they're also looking at the CC&Rs. Do these need to change? Because they do. They really do need to change. I read them when I was starting to work on them. I read every one of them. Some of them make no sense. Some of them are okay. all of them are old. So, you know, the right place to start is with the architecture committee to let them start vetting through it. Joe Lackness, the chair, he's amazing. I mean, he's probably right up there with me as public enemy number one, but he is focused and dedicated to making sure that we've got these CCNRs updated so that we can start enforcing them. And once they provide a recommendation on the CCNRs, this board is who has to approve that. And then from there we go. But you know, it's gonna be a long haul. But I am fairly confident that each of us up here wants our association to look prettier. We want it to be lucrative. We want it to be safe. We want it to be a place that you can be proud to drive into your home and drive down the street and want to bring a friend over and encourage them to live here. You know, we all, I'm pretty sure all of us feel that same way because this costs us money. Like me, you, every one of us, it costs us money. So we need to make sure that return on the investment that we're investing into the Fort is a good investment. So I'm really excited for what the architecture committee is getting on top of. So do you have anything to add?
I would just also like to add that it's just not the Fort you have to consider. If you go in and try to foreclose on these properties, you got to think about the back taxes. The tax office has first right of any payment before we do. So if we spend the money on it and we don't get nothing, the tax office takes everything that we might have gotten from that property. You have to stop and remember that also. Tax office gets first monies, whatever's out there. So when you foreclose, you got to look at all the costs involved.
So, do you have a question, sir?
I just want to add to what Doug was saying. I have noticed recently that the sheriff.
Let's get you that microphone.
Thank you. I've been seeing in the paper that we have had an awful lot of sheriff's closures on properties on this Fort, and that is the cheapest way for us to go by far.
Great. Well, thank you for that comment. Are there any more questions, sir, over here on the end? So, yeah, you have to walk around and go give a tone down there. So if you've asked a question already, we're going to wait until everybody who has not asked a question gets to ask their question or state their comment, and then we'll go back around and let you do it again. So, sir, please state your name and your unit, please.
I'm Bill Good. I live in Unit 38. My issue is perhaps considered lower priority by some, but I really enjoy the trails. It's one of the major things I like about the Fort. I like walking the trails when I can and driving the golf cart around the trails. And oftentimes they're in need of repair. And I know that that's a big issue because we have miles and miles of trails. I've often wondered if there couldn't be some kind of coordinated volunteer program with oversight by the board somehow, to be sure that we have a focused program, maybe to focus on a certain trail or a certain area, and get volunteers to get out there with chainsaws. And I don't have a chainsaw. I've got a weed eater and things like that. But if we could get crews together to work on a specific trail on a certain day, I think it would be a big help. I think it's one of the things that a lot of people really value here at the Fort, and I don't want to see that deteriorate. It's especially bad in the summertime when the vines start growing over the trails. Some of the trails almost close up because you can't get down them. And of course that's because we don't have the winter Texans around, and because in the wintertime things tend to dry off. But anyway, please give some consideration to that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. June 29th, we're going to attack all that. Granted, we need people to help attack all of that. But the thought process with that, because it is a very big issue, not even just down the trail. So you just drive down the road and you've got a tree limb hitting your car. And so the thought process we've got that, Philip and I have kind of been talking about is we're going to say, hey, these are all the areas that we're going to go attack. If you want to meet up at this area and you want to go attack it, bring some clippers. If you've got a weed eater, bring it, because there's areas to weed eat. But also, The people who own chainsaws, the fort, we own a handful of them. So you know, when we were doing the tree trimming at the swim park, there were guys that were using the fort's equipment. You have to know how to use it because we can't teach you how to use it. But if you can't cut, you probably can help pick up the limbs and put them in a pile so that the fort can go pick them up. But the idea is we're literally going to be cutting, and then there's going to be a trailer right behind with a crew picking stuff up and putting it in the trailer to get rid of it. And on top of that, if you're bringing your own chainsaw and you're cutting the wood, if you need that firewood, you can have it. What I've noticed is that our staff is pretty happy to welcome a volunteer to help. They're so thankful for the volunteers that want to come help them. There's a misnomer that you have to get board approval to go help somebody do something, but you don't need board approval to go help. And so that's kind of why we're starting these service projects, because we can't tell our fort maintenance people, okay, go do that, and now go do that, and go do that, and go do, because they already have that list of stuff that they have to keep up with. But we can help them, you know. I went and bought a big pair of those big scissors that Jolie has in her golf cart, and you know, and we're starting to do it. We just see a problem, we start clipping it, put it at the side of the road. That way, it's easier for maintenance to go get it. But if we all do that, think of how many trees we could trim and how many trails we can groom, you know? So everybody should go buy a big pair of scissors. Right?
Well, I do that all the time. I mow that big park opposite the Wilderness Park area, and Jolie's husband Mike helps when he's around and not out working. And I cut limbs all the time and lay them out to be picked up. But there are some that I just can't do without a chainsaw. Right. And there are some there in that park that it's gotten to the point where they actually hit the ground, and I can't mow under them because they're getting so thick. So
yes, sir. And so that June 29th, write that down.
There is a day that we're gonna.
Yes, sir. June 29th. It's a Saturday too. So what we're gonna do is Philip is gonna work on maintenance schedule to allow for them to be able to work on Saturday as opposed to a weekday, so that we're not having to pay overtime. It'll be part of their normal duty week, if you will. And you know, we got to get the word out. We had 20 people on the first day of the swim park beautification project, and then we had, I think, like 8 or 10 the second day. So the more people out there, the faster it gets done, and the bigger footprint we'll have when we go down this fort. But I know me personally, what we're going to be focused on is the drive into the fort, going down the main roads. And we want it to look pretty. We want it to look really nice, especially leading into the 4th of July. So maybe, sir, what we can do is put you in charge of trails, you know? Okay. Identify the trails that you think need to be assessed, and we'll put a rally point, because that's what the email is going to look like. It's going to be different rally points. You know, you're going to rally up here, you're going to rally over there, and we're going to just pray that people say, I want to come help, whether it's to pick up the brush and put it on the side of the road, or take some of that lumber or wood and use it for your personal use. You can't sell it, you can't take it off the fort, but you can have it, and you can go make fire and make some. What do you make with it? The s'mores. You can make some s'mores. That's what I'm going to do with my wood. But I'm serious though. Like, if we spread the word and we get people to come out and help, you don't have to physically work the chainsaw, but you can help pick up. You can help even pull a trailer, because I don't even know how many trailers we own, but. Get a trailer, pull a trailer, and be the person driving, you know? There's plenty of opportunity. But is there anyone else? All these hands.
Ruth Tate, Unit 14. My question is, who's in charge of street signs?
That is an excellent question. We are. We as in the fort. We're in charge of them. And we've identified all of the ones that have been knocked over. Some of them have been damaged by the storm. Some of them have been damaged by vandals. And some of them actually have been damaged by deer. Deer are not exactly smart, and they run right into those signs too. So I didn't believe it, but Philip assured me that they do. So there's a gentleman who makes those signs, and he's got a very long list of the ones he's making, but it is a priority to get them done this month because we want those signs operational
for the people to come into the fort, they have to find out what street. They can't find them, they're gone.
Yes,
Or
ma'am.
half falling down.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. All right. It's because I have a cordless mic. Julie, whoever you think put their hand up first.
Isn't there a sign-up sheet? I signed up and was on the second page.
I didn't see us. The second page looks empty. So hold on.
I was like number 14.
Second page is empty.
I wasn't aware that there was a second page. We all signed up on the other one.
Oh, is there another sign-in sheet?
There was the sign-in sheet.
Okay, well, the sign-in sheet is for attendance, so it's fine. I mean, we're doing good. We got, how much time do we have left? Yeah, we got 38 minutes. So, who has the mic? Okay, will you please state your name and unit?
It's Jenny Jaspers, and I'm in Unit 36. And speaking of brush, can you tell me what the story is about the brush pickup?
Brush pickup, what a wonderful question. The brush pickup is done in the middle of the month and at the end of the month. And as you know, because our awesome director on call made some very good announcements on Facebook for us. I'm sorry, am I interrupting other conversations?
Yeah. We're trying to figure out where the sign-up sheet is.
It's fine. I've got the sign-up sheet and you're not on it. So we're just going to keep rolling. I don't know. But with regard to the brush pickup, as you know, we had an incident with our trash truck. And the trash truck is now fixed. It did preclude us from immediately going out to get the other stuff that we pick up. But the end of the month is usually when they go pick it up, and then right in the middle. So if there's brush that's been dormant for a while, send an email. You can always courtesy copy the director of choice that you would like to. And if we see an email, we will definitely engage a little bit more. If I get an email and I'm not the director on call, I forward it to this cat or whoever's the next one. This is an informal day. And then, the director on call would be the one to work that with maintenance.
Which leads me to a second question. You said that, and I know that Mr. Link has sent some things out on Facebook, but there's such a wide variety of experience in this community between the young people and the older people. We have chosen not to be on Facebook, but we do get the emails. We appreciate them very much, but we're to the point now where we're missing things because we don't go on Facebook. Is there something that can be done maybe 2 different ways, or track down a communication system, because we're missing out on the fact that there's things going on in the community that aren't the best?
Well, everything that we post on Facebook should be sent out as a dispatch. And sometimes some of these items occur when we're not in the working daytime, the working hours. So because of that, it's either we have to wait until the next day when we have people here to give that information out via dispatch, or the beauty of the Facebook group is that we're able to tell the director on call, hey, there's an issue, can you address it? And then at that point, administration will take whatever was put on Facebook and send a dispatch, which is, I believe, what happened with the trash truck. And then subsequently, we put it on the marquee. So we have those 3 methods of communication, and we're trying to get those out as quickly as we can. And that's what's really great about that group, because word of mouth is really easier to help when we can get you something to start talking about. And I'll hand it over to you, sir.
Let me jump in here real quick. I completely understand your concern. I get it. Not everybody wants to be on social media. I understand. The thing is that I know there's probably a little bit of a misconception. I don't, and I don't think any of us have access to the Fort Clark email account. We don't do that. That's all done by the employees of the administration. So, like for example, with the trash truck, Philip contacted me, told me what was going on. So I went ahead and I posted that post on Facebook, and I turned around and asked Philip, can you please make sure we get an HQ dispatch out as soon as possible and get it up on the marquee as soon as possible. All that takes time. There's only, how many people have access to that email account? Just 2? So there's only 2 employees that can actually send an HQ dispatch, and we're not any of them up here. So that takes a little bit of time sometimes, and then with the marquee, we physically have to have somebody go change it out. So we try to do that as quick as we can, but some of this stuff, if it occurs on a weekend, I have no way of getting you that HQ dispatch any faster than whenever the next administration employee that has access to that account comes to work, which obviously will be Monday morning. So I understand, but I don't have a faster way of getting that to you via email. I wish I did, but I don't.
Okay, anybody else? Oh, you're standing too. Awesome. And you got the mic. All right.
My name is Charlene Simmons, and I live in Unit 37. And my concern, one of them, of the many, one of them is I was always taught that first impressions are very, very important. And our first impression is awful. Our fence is falling down. It looks awful. And it keeps people from coming in because they think that we're a guard or something out here, I don't know, a prison or whatever. I've had people tell me, oh, I've never been in there because I didn't think it didn't look welcoming, and I just passed it right on by. So I think we should start at the beginning and start repairing that fence that's falling down. Thank you.
I'm very glad you made that specific comment because that's one of the first things I told Philip to find us 3 bids for. Because I completely agree. We've got a fence that's fallen apart in all different places. We got just trash built up around it. Mr. Link and I have been exchanging ideas about how we can better secure the gate to where it's not going to be super cost prohibitive, but it's going to be a goal for us because everything costs money. So while yes, we have to start at the beginning at the gate, we have to start further back. We got to start where we can make money, because if we don't have money for it, we have to ask you to pay for it. And I don't know of anybody in this room who's ready to pay an additional $50 a person to help build that that fence. Now, it might wind up being one of the options, and I don't know yet because he hasn't even given them to us yet. He's still calling people. He's trying to figure it out. But we want something that's classy. We want something that's inviting, and we want something that's affordable, and that's going to sustain the weather, sustain the animals, sustain. Apparently, we have people that jump the fence to sustain it all. But yeah, we had all sorts of stuff crossing that fence. So we've got a lot of criteria that we've got to meet before we can even think about asking membership to consider it. And before we would even consider it, because we got to know every piece of it. As you probably heard me say in previous board meetings, we have had a bad habit of approving something as a half idea. And we find ourselves having to catch up later and pay more money to fix the rest of the idea. So we're done with that. We are done with that. If we're going to be addressing an issue, it's going to be a full circle issue, cradle to grave. What is it that it's going to cost us? What is this project going to be doing, and how long is it going to take? So yes, that is one of the toppest, that's not even a word, one of the highest priorities that we have to make this place more inviting. But with that, we got to work on the amenities. We got to work on the appearance as you drive through. We got to work on the homes. We got to work on the roads. Like, it's just such a long list. It really is. And at the root of it all, we need money. So if anybody knows where I can find a tree that has money, I will go find it and I will go pluck all the money off of it. But until then, we got to work on these income generating places. Our motel, it's going to get new beds in it within the next week and a half, and that right there is monumental, because when you have a comfortable bed to sleep in, you're going to want to come back to it. And we've already experienced that with a couple of guests who enjoyed the new beds, and they were like, hey, I'm going to come back for a whole weekend. And so we're starting to see that. Our motel is booked every weekend this month, which is amazing. So we're hopefully going to be able to start seeing an increase maybe in that value because we're investing money into it. We're putting the money there. So that is high on the list, though, that gate. And I'll let Bill, too, you've got some great ideas with the gate, too. Do you want to share them?
You want to get into those now?
If you want to. I mean, the question was asked. It's up to you.
All right. I just sent a long email to the directors this week about, well.
Talking to the mic, sir.
I'm sorry, let me lean forward a little bit, about that gate. And concerning all of the things that I've heard from membership about people using our amenities that are not members and shouldn't be on the fort in the first place, to include people that have actually been banned from Fort Clark. So, thinking about this, I thought of a couple of different things we could potentially do, but realistically the only option is to control that gate. And the only way we're going to control that gate is to physically stop people from entering this property. So you're looking at two things. You're looking at membership being able to get in on one side through the member lane, and you're going to have some sort of system. It could be a keypad, it could be a key card, it could be, I even stayed at a resort where it was actually like a little barcode that you just scan. It's something. Because if we don't control that, we have no idea who's coming in, using our property, vandalizing our property, doing whatever they want, whenever they want. And then that then forces non-members and guests to go to the other lane where they're going to have to talk to somebody at the security gate and physically be allowed to enter the property. If we don't do that, everything else we try to do, we're going to be spinning our wheels and chasing our tail. So it's kind of a big project. It's going to involve a lot of change. We're all going to have to get used to it if we go to a system like that. And it's going to be, for lack of a better word, painful for some of us that just aren't used to it. I know some people aren't going to be happy with it. But on the flip side, some of those same people that aren't going to be happy with it are the same people that email me and tell me there's people at the swim park that shouldn't be there. So along with fixing our fence, we've got to control our gate. Whatever we decide to do, we've got to change the system, because the system we have right now is the same system we've had forever, and it frankly doesn't work. So, that being said, I love the idea of fixing the fence. I don't know that these two things are going to go hand in hand just simply on cost alone. I've recently talked to Philip a little bit about the fence, and he's got some ideas of what we could do to kind of temporarily repair some of the areas. But overall, I'd love to see something other than that chain link fence up there, because it is not very appealing.
I'd like to comment on that. It was, during the last year, looked at repairing that fence. There was something about whether they were round tubes or square tubes that made the repairing very difficult, if not impossible. And the cost of replacing it was extremely expensive. So there was a initiation to look at putting up some kind of a fence that would look attractive, that would fit in with the idea this was a fort, and that type of fence was a stockade type fence with stone pillars or block pillar stone faced every so often. That project never really got off the ground. There were some samples, small miniature samples made to look at. In Brackettville, there's a home on the north side of it on the left that actually has one of those, and it's very attractive, but that might be something to consider when you approach it.
Anybody else? Oh, you got the mic, sir. Go for it. Jolie lost control of the mic.
I guess I'm on.
Yes, sir. Please state your name and unit, please.
My name is William R. Kleisico, 82 Crockett Road, Unit 21.
All right, sir. What you got?
There seems to be some confusion. We've recognized it already between signing in and speaking. And I'm aware of the fact that maybe everyone hasn't had the opportunity to speak, and I would like you to ensure, if you would, that you would address this, and if there is, call on.
Yes, sir. I think we're doing that right now. Thank you for the comment, though. So
I'm talking about, you spoke earlier that the sign-out sheet was complete. Last person was to talk. I'm saying there's more.
Oh, and I heard you, but I mean, I'm actually not even going to argue with you about it. Let's just get to the next person so that we use our time wisely. Thank you, though. Ms. O'Brien.
That would be me. Thank you. Good morning. I'm Linda O'Brien from Unit 21. Board of Directors are elected by the members. The Board of Directors work on behalf of the members. Today, I offer the board evidence that a petition has been and still is being circulated that requests the board appoint the third runner-up in the March 2019 election. The number of signatures collected is overwhelmingly in favor of the third runner-up, with 266 signatures to date. By the 19th of June, those numbers will be close to 300. The membership is clearly speaking to the board, to the course of action required. If the board of directors continues to move forward to appoint anyone other than the third runner-up, continues to manipulate against the membership to appoint someone who has never run for an office here, who has never attended a board meeting before last month, who has never volunteered for the four in any form or fashion, then it is obvious to all that the board is attempting, through these actions, to load the board with people who will strengthen their positions. This behavior is unethical. Every member who has signed the petition is in agreement with this statement. I once again request the board put this petition on the agenda for June 19th and take the action required to correct this as requested by the membership. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or concerns? Who has not talked yet already? You've already asked. You gotta wait till the end. You gotta wait till the end. You gotta wait till the end. We got Ms. Kaufman back there.
Hello, Kristen Kaufman, Unit 27. Sorry.
Speak into the mic, please.
Okay, I thought. My comment was about the fence. I know the chain link doesn't look great, but it's what we have for now. I think replacing it is great, but it's not hard to repair it. Matt and I did our entire yard ourselves when we lived in McKinney. So if they need some help from someone who's done chain link repair, I can help. And maybe I can talk Matt into it too.
That'd be wonderful. I'm going to write you down as a volunteer. Are there any other questions or concerns? Got Mr. Herman up here at the front. Poor Jolie, she's getting exercise today. Sorry.
That's okay.
You're amazing.
I'm giving my steps in.
Yes, ma'am.
Bill Herman, Unit 21. Where does the board stand on the ad hoc committee projects that were started?
We stand postured to address each of them. So we have three. We have the rules and regulations, which is going to take a little higher priority than the other two. We have the RV park, which we're going to explore options on whether it's more beneficial to have. Is that me ringing?
I don't know.
We're going to explore the opportunity to see if it's more beneficial to have a standing RV park committee so that we can address real time what's happening out there, because I think everybody's mindset is let's just tear the whole thing down and build it again, but we don't have money for that. And then the third one, what was the third one? The renters policy. Yeah, we do have to address that too. So they have not fallen off the radar. They're just not as high up on the radar as we'd like for them to be at this particular second. But of the three, the rules and regulations are probably a higher priority.
In conjunction with that, once you've changed the rules and regulations, who's going to enforce them?
That's an excellent question, which is also part of what we need to address with our priorities. We've got to work on, like I said before, with the process with enforcing what Architecture Committee finds as an issue. We have to work on the process. What process is going to work so that we can make rules that are enforceable, so that we can have a process or a program in place that we can actually enforce. Because right now we have so many things that I don't even know if we know what we're enforcing. So those are great questions.
You don't have anybody to enforce them.
Well,
now.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment on that. Is there anyone else with a question? Oh, in the very back by the American, or is that, what flag is that?
Good morning. I'm Pat Seitz. I live in Unit 27. And I just want to comment that I've really been real happy with being able to email my board of directors to tell them things that I am concerned about. But I have a question. I want to know what is maintenance now mowing? Because we have the mowing people, and we had the airport that they were mowing, which they didn't need to mow, and we were going to give them more to mow. So I really have a lot that is on my street, and my street is very short. There's only 4 lots on my street. Okay, that is overgrown with weeds, and I know the fort used to mow those and charge the owner for the cost of mowing. And this has not been done at all. And they drive by it all the time, so they see it. But so I just wondered, is anybody mowing those kinds of lots? We can't mow it. It's so overgrown. It's not going to take a regular lawnmower to mow it.
That's an excellent question. Kind of in line with, am I interrupting a conversation up front? Sorry. Kind of in line with the housing and the rules and regulations, the architecture committee stuff. It's an enforcement issue. So if there's a private property that needs to be mowed, the right thing to do is to report it. This is where we have the process issue. Where do you report it? Because it feels like a black hole. And I'm not going to lie, it feels like a black hole. So if it's residential, maybe the place to go report it to is to architecture and see if you can jump in Miss O'Brien's golf cart and show her the other places that you see. And then she can add it to her list, you know. What was that?
She was on my street the other day.
Oh, and see, so that's great. So that's a good start. So as far as, I mean, because that was kind of a multifaceted question. As far as what maintenance is mowing versus what the contractors are mowing, we have to nail that down. And we're actually, within the next month, we're going to start looking at that maintenance, the lawn mowing contract, and see exactly what are you doing, how much are you costing us, is there a better deal? And if we need to call out for bids, we may be doing that in the next month. But their contract expires, I think, in August. I think it's in August.
Yes.
So that's one piece of it. The other piece of it is we have 4 maintenance people. So we need to figure out what is maintenance actually going to be able to realistically do. Are they realistically, because I mean, we all know how awesome Philip is. If you ask him, hey, can you help me with this? He's going to say yes, and he's going to go do it because he's that great of a person. However, it's not realistic to ask an individual who runs the maintenance shop, can you go do this? When you know that they have a list of other stuff they have to do. So part of what we're going to have to look at with this mowing contract is realistically what can maintenance accomplish? Is maintenance going to need to hire more people? Well, we all know we have a very limited pool to hire from. So that's one part of it. Do we need more people? If we need more people, what are those people going to be able to do realistically? Because we have thousands of acres to oversee. The other part of that then too is, okay, if we can do only this much, how much are we going to need to put on the landscape company? And yes, originally they were supposed to mow the airfield. Well, the airfield wasn't even consulted, which is another issue that we have. We have a communication problem. If we're not asking the residents or the groups or the clubs or whoever's in charge of these specific spots, what do you need? And we're not able to know what you need, it's wrong for us to guess. And that's kind of what happened with that contract. We kind of guessed, well, we think we need this. If they would have come to the airport and said, do you want us to do this? The airport would have said, no, we're happy with the way we're doing it, it's fine. And then the renegotiations could have been a little different. So again, this was another example of we, the board, and I was on that board, we approved something that was a half idea that kind of culminated, and we're just kind of dealing with it as it comes. We're not going to do that this next time. We've learned some lessons. We've seen through member feedback where the areas are that are not being addressed. I mean, Unit 1, we had to add Unit 1 into that. We didn't know Unit 1 wasn't in there. There was another unit that we had to add that we didn't know wasn't in that contract. So While I would love it if all 4 maintenance people and Philip were superheroes that could just do everything and then get a good night's sleep and come back to work, it's not realistic. So we got to look at that. And that also goes with security. We got to realistically look at what can they do. You know, they can't carry weapons, so they can't really enforce a whole lot. But if we give them solid rules and solid enforcement programs, then, I mean, that's up at here. That's at our level. We've got to look at it. So that multifaceted question has a really multifaceted array of answers to it. But if it's private property, then Architecture Committee is who you want to talk to first. Get them involved. And I'm certain at this point that they're going to be engaged enough to want to at least write it down. If not, go to your director of choice. You know, we're all accessible. And I'm sorry, what am I missing? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought there was another question. And then from there, we're working on the program. And we're going to have to work on it with Architecture Committee to make sure the program's right to enforce it. Did that answer all of those questions?
Well, I only really wanted to know if they were going to mow it or not.
It's a long process, you know, it really is. Go ahead, Ms. Isaacs.
And I know what you're talking about, Pat. I also know that the golf course and the fort used to mow all that down Fort Clark Road just to make it look nice as you're going in. Especially at tournament time, the golf course would mow some of that across the road from where you're talking. Right now it's so high, you can't even see real estate signs out there. The realtors could pay for it, but if they take that property away from me tomorrow, then I've got money in it that I don't even get to see. So you can't expect a realtor and somebody will say, well, so-and-so's got that property, why aren't they mowing it? But that's not realistic because anybody can pull a contract, a 6-month, 3-month, or whatever it is, and never recoup your money back. So the fort has done things in the past. It's not getting done with the contract now, but we're aware of it. So maybe that could be something 2 or 3 times a year or something, or a month, maybe once every 2 months, get mowed down some. I don't know. We just have to look at those issues. But you do have a problem where you're talking about.
Well, yeah, because when people come, a lot of people go down Pecan. A lot of people. And a lot of people that are visiting go down Pecan. And they see, you know, it's like my daughter came to visit, and she said, Mom, why is that like that, you know? And I was like, well, she recognized it should have been mowed. So I just, you know, it's like when you come in the fort, it's like you talk about. We, you know, for so many weeks, the Circus Club wouldn't be mowed on the weekend, you know, and then it's now mowed, but now the adult center isn't mowed. And, you know, so you want the place to look good when people are driving in. You know, we ask people to come over here. We tell people we live here. We try to promote the fort to outsiders, you know, and especially, you know, people that we meet in Del Rio and at the base and stuff. But, you know, I guess my biggest thing is, okay, I'm hearing we only have 4 people that work in maintenance. We only have 4 people that work in maintenance. Well, then maybe we need some more people to work in maintenance. Maybe we need to advertise in the paper.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, your time is up. I would like to say this though. We can only afford so many people to work in maintenance, and you have to realize every employee we hire in any department takes away money from something else. So I appreciate where you're coming from, but there has to be a limit. We can't hire 800 people to mow everything on the fort. So totally understand. I think readdressing that contract is the start, because a lot of what we put into that contract is going to dictate whether or not we decide we might need to hire somebody else on maintenance. So we need to start with that first.
And I'd like everybody also to realize, as a board, we're looking at things we can do that doesn't cost us money. If the volunteers care enough about your association, there's a lot of things we can do that's not going to cost us money, but in the long run will go a long way in sprucing up this place. You've got to clean your house before you ask your guests to come in. So that's kind of where we're looking at. We've got money issues. We don't know where our issues are. Believe me, I am constantly working on that, trying to find the money. So what we're doing is not going to cost members anything if we can get our volunteers to take pride in our association.
Show me the money, Debbie. In the back, way back there. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. My name is Phyllis Giblin. I'm in Unit 27. I'd like to address the firehouse. I don't know if this is a rentable venue, but they are also abusing the privilege by parking a boat behind the firehouse. We do have a storage area in our by the RV park that they can move that boat to. But I would like to address the firehouse and what, are we renting it or are we storing things there?
It actually is being rented by Elite. They're in a contract to rent it for $500 a month. I don't think that's private knowledge. We can probably say that. If not, then strike it from the record. But that, there, you know, it's being rented. I actually did tell Philip that I have an issue with that boat as well. Can't see you, but I did tell him I have an issue with that boat as well, and he's going to address it.
Thank you.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
also asked that question.
There's actually a young lady right there in the center. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Leslie Jones in Unit 34. I have a question going back with the contract on the mowers. When they came, they started mowing, and it was 2 days after my husband had mowed. We live on an area that has a lot of green area. We've taken care of it for 20-some years. I think that somebody needs to go around with them on the contract. In the second area with that, could you please, maybe weekly, have somebody come down Scales Road and collect the limbs that are being cut by other people? Talking about beautifying, I don't see any piles of limbs on Fort Clark Road, but Scales Road is getting to, there's several. And I think that needs to be cleaned up because we do have a lot of new people who are moving in, who have friends who come, and that really, those piles of dead brown leaves don't look too well. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I actually concur with that 100%. Part of the mowing contract is we have no true idea what their schedule is. And that, you know, I've asked that question several times. I asked for a good map, and I got a map that's scribbled on, and that's just not, it's not satisfactory. So we're going to work on it, and we will be going around, and you know, if it's me personally or whoever the director on call is at that time, that's going to be part of the criteria, that we physically get eyes on and see exactly what this contract's going to entail. Because the board is responsible for the contracts. It's not the administration, it's the board. So if we're going to get into a contract, we're going to get into a contract where all the questions are answered, and we can provide that. In a perfect world, we'd like to be able to distribute that and say, here's the schedule, so that you have an idea of when to expect these mowers out there. And if they're not out there, you can report it and say, you know, the schedule said this. Is there a reason why they're not here? Okay?
I can actually tell you, I went...
Let's get her the mic so we can hear her, please.
The employees are doing a wonderful job with that contract. I mean, they were actually out with the weed eater doing my curbing. And that was, I said, you don't have to do that. Well, they had just said, go there, and they didn't know where go there meant. And so I think that that is one thing that you need to look at, because we had our ditch was very good for my husband's mower. They got in there with their heavy mowing equipment, and it was just horrible. And you know, it's going to take years for him to get it back working. So thank you.
On the brush pickup, if you could cut your brush around the 1st or the 15th, that would eliminate that just sitting out there, kind of work with what's already out there. 1st and the 15th is supposed to be brush pickup.
Debbie, I'm not talking about my brush. I'm talking about Fort Clark Road, and I will talk with you and tell you who's putting it. And that's fine. I have no problem with them cutting and piling it, because I don't care where they pile it. If they pile it along Scales Road, it's gonna look bad.
Okay, so we got it, and we appreciate it. Now, of the folks that have their hands up, whoever has not asked a question, we're going to go to first. I know, Ms. Hermanson, you got a lot of follow-up, ma'am.
Everybody else got their follow-up.
Okay, we're going to give Mrs. Hermanson her follow-up.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say that I appreciate everything you all are doing. It sounds great the way you're trying to prioritize things that are the most important. And I've heard a lot been said today. I think it's wonderful. I really think that the safety issues around the fort need to be the highest priority. I heard somebody say something about electrical. It sounds awful. The houses that have glass broken out of them and all that. I mean, the safety issues all over the fort. I saw a picture of a hole by the pool. All of those safety issues, I think, need to be the #1 priority so someone does not get hurt and we do not get sued.
I concur. Yes, ma'am.
So
The young lady in the blue shirt. Oh, let's make sure it's on.
Nancy Stone, Unit 34. I'm concerned about the RV park. I walk by the RV park every morning, and the pipeliners are leaving the RV park. And since we've had several days of rain, the street that goes into the RV park, or the one they exit, it always has water on it. So they bring the mud out on Scales Road. Also, are you bringing back the Wi-Fi for their RVers so we can get our members who used to come back to the Fort Clark?
Thank you. Yes, the Wi-Fi and the cable are things that we're wanting to address. And those contracts also are ones that we're going to look at. Like I said earlier, we're looking at every contract. We pulled them all. And the ones that are expiring, we're going to address first. But yes, that DirecTV and the Wi-Fi are very important, and we want to get them out there. We got to figure it out, but we want to get them out there.
What are you gonna do about the water?
Well, water. I mean, I gotta go see what you're talking about. I'm sorry. Director on call may be able to go see what that water is. Poor dude, you're gonna have a long list of places to go.
I didn't know there was standing water over there. I would take a look at it.
Yeah, because we don't know. There's so many factors. I mean, we don't know anything about the water, so we'll look at it and talk to Philip. You know, that's all we can really do right this second.
There's a ditch that actually.
Oh, hold on, ma'am. Hold on, ma'am. Please have a seat.
I have something to say.
I understand, but you're going to have to wait your turn.
A load of gravel will do some of the
Ma'am, I understand, but we are going to respect each other and we're going to wait our turn. Thank you.
Woody Trotter, Unit 21. 2 weeks ago, my neighbor had their trees trimmed, and apparently their tree trimmer, he dumped all the brush in front of my mom's yard. Now, my mom's property goes all the way to the street from the fence. And I saw him and his children dumping it, and I said, this is private property. And he said, well, that belongs to the fort. I said, no, her property goes all the way to the street. And we've had all this ugly brush, and we're right across from Seminole Hall for the past 2 weeks. I did report it to Philip and to the fort, and I understand you are having some logistic problems, trying to get things done. But I just wanted to make a comment that if anybody has brush, check and ask the person if they're dumping it on their property or not. Thank you.
Okay, with regard to that, though, if it was somebody that was paid to cut those trees and they've dumped it, we're going to need to know who the company was that did that, because they're not going to be allowed to operate on this fort anymore. That is actually a standing rule with all the companies that operate here. If they are paid to cut trees and they dump it on common property or any property, or leave it on your property if you paid them, then they're not going to be allowed to operate on this fort anymore. So
I confronted him, Maria. When I confronted him, Maria, I said, you're dumping that on private property. He said, well, they're going to pick it up in about 2 days. And he wasn't told. On the other side was cactus, but there was a big there's a parking area with concrete that he could have put it on one side of that concrete.
Well, ma'am, that's irrelevant. If you're paying somebody to cut a tree, they have to take that tree with them.
Yeah.
So what I would ask you to do.
Well, it wasn't our tree, and I didn't want to get a letter for.
No. What I would ask you to do is to find out from whoever's house it was, or tell us the house, and we'll go ask ourselves, us the administration side, who was paid, and then we'll deal with it from there.
Well,
So that's all we can
I'll
do.
tell you after the meeting. I'd
That's
rather
fine.
not say the name.
No, we don't want to say anybody's name out loud. That'd be great. We have time for one more question or concern, and it looks like it's going to be Miss Kathy Warm closing us down.
I'm always closing somebody down. Okay, we're going to talk about the mowing, and I'm so sorry to keep bringing it up, but I know Debbie knows where we live, Maria knows where we live, and Bill knows where we live. I'm not sure if Mr. Sullivan knows where we live, but we have that ditch right across the way. Okay, I think it was last year, one of the ladies came by and she had her riding lawnmower from maintenance, and it took her probably a half a day to make a swipe right alongside the road. Okay, then the next day they went to the back, right, and they did a swipe along the other side of the ditch. I did send work order into Philip. I didn't put urgent on it, but I've asked him to maybe look at it and see if they could get the riding lawnmower there and to do it, because eventually what's going to happen, and it's getting really close, we all know that, the shrubs are going to grow up to be trees. And the ditch is getting really, really full of weeds and everything. And if we have one good rain again, like it happened a couple of years ago, Amanda and us will have water into the house. So I'm not sure if we should stay with Philip or if I should have somebody contact the landscaping guys. But people walk their dogs and everything, and the children there, and we're all getting concerned about those things that crawl through the grass, you know, like snakes and mosquitoes and everything. Anyhow, I'm not sure if I should just stay with Philip or if I should ask you to go somewhere else to landscaping. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Well, you're always welcome to send that work order to the work order email.
I always give them personally.
Well, so that might be one of the issues. So we have work order at fortclark.com, because even though Philip is running all of that, we need to keep track of them. And I can't keep track of Philip's emails, but we can keep track of workorder.com, and they can easily look at those and print those out. So resend it to workorder.com, work order at fortclark.com, and you can courtesy copy the director of your choice, director on call. I'm going to just point out the director on call for this month.
Okay. All right, well, thank you.
That's fine.
And, but you can always do that. And courtesy copying us is just letting us know that you got this work order, and it puts it on our radar that maybe we need to ask, where's this going? Have you guys addressed it? And it doesn't mean we're going to make it happen like the next day, but at least we have an idea of what's happening.
Yeah, when you go by, you know it's getting pretty weedy out there by our place.
Okay, thank you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow the directors to say some closing remarks if they want to. They did not know they were going to get this opportunity, so I'm excited to see what they say.
I personally appreciate all the questions, concerns. I just want the membership to know that we're working on them one by one.
What you got, Bill?
You guys brought a lot of really good concerns today. Some of these things I will attack and begin attacking this week, since I am the director on call. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to resolve all your problems this week. I'm not going to tell you that. But I will start with a lot of these things and then follow up with you. Now, some of the stuff we discussed, the fencing, the gates, all that other stuff, that's going to take a little bit more time. We've already mentioned some of those things we've already been discussing. But just I loved getting the opportunity to give everybody a chance to have a voice. I've made several times mention you're welcome to email me anytime you want. You can get to me on Facebook if you want, but if you're not Facebook people, email works great, vicepresident@fortclark.com. I will always get back to you. I may not give you the answer you want, but I promise you I will respond to you, okay? And I thank you very much for coming out today.
And don't be dragging your feet. Don't leave all that for me next month.
I want to thank everyone for showing up on this Saturday morning, including the board. And I'm very appreciative to hear your concerns being addressed and directed towards the board of directors, and providing them some direction that they can follow to address members' concerns and the desires of the membership. So thank you. Many of these issues have been tried to be corrected before. It takes time. Some have, and then they redevelop. But it's something we all need to stay on top of all the time. And fresh eyes are here, so we'll see what happens, but it looks good, sounds good, and great to hear from all of you. Thank you.
I know, you got applause. I'm the only one with applause. That's okay. The next, we're going to do another town hall. The next one is October the 20th, and it's going to be very similar to this, informal. We're going to be respectful, so thank you all for being respectful and for rolling with the punches here. We're going to fix this sign-in thing and make sure it's very obvious that which one's the sign-in and which one's the attendance. So we apologize for that. We're going to make it right. There's one thing that we did not address at all, and I just want to make a statement about it. Bill has already made a statement about it before, but we have had quite the array of illegal alien activity on the fort. So what I want to let you know is that Fort Clark Springs is working closely with Border Patrol and the Sheriff's Department to apprehend and detain any illegal aliens that make their way onto the fort. Please ensure that you are keeping your homes, your vehicles, your personal belongings secure. We are not responsible for those, okay? If you do see any suspicious activity, contact security. Robert's back there, he'll wave at you. But contact security. As Bill said, Border Patrol is a little overtasked right now. Shocker, but there's a lot going on. And as he also did indicate, our staff has been doing a great job helping them out, working together as a team. The Sheriff's Department's been involved as well, working together as a team. And what we do not want is for one of our members to try to engage with one of these individuals. They may not be bad people. They may not be, but all it takes is one. So we do not want our members to be put in that risk. So please do not engage them yourselves. Make the phone call. Security's right on top of it. You've seen that unfold. And I don't know, Bill, if you want to say anything else about the Border Patrol side of it, but I wanted to make sure we said that so that I know we're streaming live on Facebook. Hello, Facebook. I can't wait to read all the comments. I can't wait. But seriously, this is important to us. It's important for us to know where you're coming from. It's important for us to know if there are issues that we didn't know about that we can work to fix. We can't, like everybody said, we can't do it overnight, but it's going to go on our list, on our rack and stack, and we're going to do our best. And hopefully, October 20th, when we're right back here in the same spot, we'll be able to give you positive updates or hear positive comments on how some of these issues were addressed. Because not everything has to be negative. We can say some positive things too. So with that, this isn't really a meeting, but we're gonna close the town hall and wait for the next one.
October the 20th.
October the 20th. Oh, is it a Sunday? Then it might be the 19th. Sorry. Let me look on the calendar. Thank you for correcting that. Yes, sorry, the 19th. I apologize. So October the 19th, also a Saturday. Same bat time, same bat channel, and it's informal.
You're having so much fun with this.
This informal one is fun. All right, you guys have a great day.
Still on for 11:30.
Okay, no worries. We're gonna go to Philip's office.
Both of your kind of concerning the whole and your volunteer effort about 5 minutes ago,
Director, I'm calling. Yes, ma'am. Well, it's been announced at the meeting. So basically, every year rotating. So at the end of last meeting, Maria mentioned that I would be the director of hall for this month, and then Debbie Isaacs is taking it next, and then Dan will take it after that. I understand. Yeah, no, I get it. So every month it's going to rotate, though.
Write it down.
Nobody that's been posting it, you can always call the admin office and just ask. So they know because they call us like almost every day. So they just anybody there should be able to sign the director on calls. Okay? No, but I do get my email out. So, okay, fair enough. Well, if you need to get in touch with me, if you don't want to email me, call my office. I'll get in touch with you. Okay?
Vice
I've never had that actually. That's unusual. You're the first person that's ever mentioned it. Yeah, well, I they have it once, you go, okay, give us a clue, whatever, it's weird, I don't know. I will ask about it. Sure, right, bit of an emergency. No, I totally understand. No, I'll ask about it. You're the first person that's ever brought that up. I'll take care of that for you. Hi, Woody. What did they say? Did they think you had an earthquake and opened a lot of the cabinets? That's crazy.
Sometimes we're really busy. I've called the DC and got that. I've told you they have a lot of
I remember, I think I asked you did they start breaking into this report? So that might help you. If it says it appears there was a break, you need to send it to your insurance company. Yeah, definitely.
We met before. They said you all take care of the, I took care of the chemicals. You all find out. I believe so, I'm not sure if they can. I believe so, but I don't know who picked it up. I'd like to know what it meant because that's how it deeply affects us.
I get it when you get it sent to me.
So, I'm still curious if you got it. Don't sound like me. It wasn't me. Wasn't Matt aware of it? He should have.
I get it. But send it when you get it.
It's just a word. No, I know, but I can only just not just look at 3 words and like return to their core. None of these are really words, by the way.
Somebody had mentioned to me, I said something.
Go say hi to this guy.
Anybody, just a friend of mine at work that mentioned he is a we have a list of contractors. You can call and recommend it if you want. Contractors in good standing, kind of what I would refer to. And then we have the other list, where when somebody here makes a mistake like with that, they get kicked off that list and put on this one. And we haven't come to that, but I'd like to do that. So hopefully we're going to do something like that soon.
So Lawrence,
there's a lot of places. It doesn't last 2 hours and then it's done. Oh, maybe just self-directed. Okay.
They don't want to have to.
And I haven't looked at it. I mean, I drive by it a lot at night, but I'm not always looking at it. I did look at it closely to see what you're talking about. Well, that's kind of the whole point. I got a statue there for that, get people to look at it. I'll look at it. Okay.
I mean, I saw both of them, so.
Hi. Sir, how you doing? Yo, Lee.
Well, she was driving down the highway on the interstate, and a truck that's plywood. Right
Oh, yes.
and she had glass all over.
Hey, Lenny, I love your emails. I have no problem hearing from you. I'm serious, I love hearing from you. What do you got for me today?
But I
No, I get it.
No,
I know.
I haven't talked to her since she. Oh, that's good. I love that too. Because I really didn't have the opportunity. Yes.
Well, I understand. Right now, we have a set schedule. And at this time, we have not changed that schedule. Now, we're not saying we're not going to. Like I said, I've already had this discussion with Philip, and he's already come back and said, we can probably do something a little bit more. But that's as far as that discussion got, because of all the other lightning rod issues that we've had. Right, I know, but that's just it. So now we're in our summer schedule. We should be doing it weekly, but this week we had the primary guy had to run to San Antonio and buy a part for a truck. So, okay. Well, I will ask him about it again, and I will try. We should be doing it weekly now, period, no matter what. We should be. So I'll follow up on it and see, why it didn't happen without putting anything out there other than that. We'll follow up on it and see, because we should be doing it every week at this point. And I'd like to go past Labor Day too. I already told you that, if we can. I'm trying. I doubt it. I thought about that. I sincerely doubt it. This is my point. I've thought about how many times I've come through there, and there's been, we'll say, a line of cars. I think I've seen 4 or 5 cars in a line maybe once, and if you ever use one of those gates, it's about 10 seconds, 15 seconds, up, down, and it's done. And that's why there needs to be cameras on it, to capture license plates. You could, but how do you know who's violating it? That's the thing. You can catch the people that try to sneak through with another vehicle. You can be like, oh, there's 2 vehicles there. That's easy. But if you just put a camera there, how do you know who was supposed to go through there and who wasn't? And the fort doesn't have access to run license plate numbers, so that's something we have to turn over to the sheriff's department. Unless we know for sure they violated something, the sheriff's department's going to go, what do we want to do with this list of license plates?
I will tell you this, if they ever whenever they just stop traffic.
But now, the rules and regulations apply. We can enforce them.
Thank y'all. I'm going to go.
Just okay.
I've never seen that happen. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just telling you I've never seen it happen. Except for maybe Fort Clark days. We might have had something like that on a Fort Clark days day or something once. But,
Is it red at least?
The doctor says, I said, he said, have you had a stroke? And you're not able to get $3.
So my vision is if you're sitting in the member lane and you're, whatever, PIN code, card, none of that's been figured out. Whatever you have isn't working, and the gate guard looks over and recognizes you, pushes a button and it opens. It's that simple.
Well,
it shouldn't be a backup issue.
I think they would have to be pushing that button.
Yeah, they will. But that would be part of the job if we go to that. But it's all still in the infancy stage. It's still got to be discussed and fleshed out. Costs have to be figured out. It's a lot. Yeah, so there's bids being accepted for that now because we had a contractor, and what I understand, that guy didn't show up anymore. So we're getting bids to finish it, trust me.
But what I'm saying is, that's
My husband got an air.
It's being worked on, I promise. I know it takes a long time. It's taken way longer than it should have in the first place.
And that's why I was like what she was saying, when you take on a thing, you're gonna plan out how long and when it's gonna be done.
Birth to death, beginning to end. Yep, absolutely.
That will.
I hear you. Well,
I will let you go, but
thank you.
I'll be sure to email you.
I know you will. Hello.
Hello.
I know, it's been a while since I talked to you though.
I know.
How are you?
That's
Good.
I just wanted to, I think what I want to say, but I just wanted to remind you that we talked about the fence. You heard me say it. A year and a half or so ago.
It needs
So
to
if you
come
go
together.
back and check the minutes from that and see what was said at that time. And also about the, Mr. Lawrence that started the thing at the gate and everybody.
I know. Oh, I told them when I emailed them what I did, that this was going to cause pitchforks and torches to come out and people are going to be upset about it. But again, they're the same people that email me and complain about the people at the pool that don't belong there. So I will tell you, Philip did say he thinks he has an idea to temporarily repair that fence until we do whatever long-term project we want to do with it.
It needs to be made beautiful.
Oh, it does. And I hate the chain link look. It's terrible. I don't like it. It's not a good front face of the fort. You know, if that was along the sides, if it was on the back, yeah, okay, fine. But the front of
We're
it,
saying, oh, it's a security reason, we need it up.
That's why.
Back of my house has got a huge fence, I mean, a barbed wire fence that's down.
Is there anything else?
Well, right behind my house, right by the prison is a barbed wire fence. And it's down.
And that's where we're not.
There's no stopping people if they want to come